everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. As always, thank you to all for everyone's words, wishes, prayers, as the love and support everyone shares with me. From the heart, thank you. Also, if the message does make sense a bit to you, please do like, share, subscribe, and hype the video to allow it to get out a little further. Thank you. Well, getting right into the topic of today. Today is more of a cautionary tale, right? Overall, how you could go in full blast and then things get old because it's just facts. I did them for over 20 years, and there's times where they get heavy on you. It's part of the heartache I mentioned, right? Not just seeing the lies, betrayal, but as well just dealing with things, period, point blank. It takes a lot of you, regardless if you're sitting down with nothing to do. It's a lot of responsibility, right? But anyways, for this one, I'm gonna take you back, mm, 2003, 2, 3, somewhere there, right? I was still in Corcoran, and this is when I had not had the pleasure of really seeing the in-look of the wiggling what a Sherm had, right? Of course, you was heard of anywhere you would hold a responsibility because he would have 1, 2 individuals there, right, pushing for him. But you know, once I would hit Pelican Bay, let's just say 2005, right before Güero took off, he had he had part of the yard right in High Desert, as well as Terco, Psycho, and there was a good camarada, real good individual with antiquity, Clecha. They called him Crow from Santa Maria. This homie, I'll just say to be able to please Güero at that time, it was, you had to know the ropes real good, right? And this was a legit individual because besides all his workers, there was a lot of individuals that threw his name around just because they knew his way, right? Oh, aún, with Güero. But this ain't even about Sherm, right? This is, like I said, a cautionary tale, right? How things can get old and you try to do your time, right? You don't do no funny stuff or nothing, but like Crow, right? At one moment, he's supporting one of the individuals that, even though his brothers, per se, or other individuals don't say it out loud, they have a lot of hate for him, for Güero, right? And of course, it carries on to his workers because you're his arm and legs at the time, right? Nevertheless, there was a few issues that happened in High Desert, right? With the camarada holding position for Güero, and out of respect, with those that held positions in the sense of sharing the yarda, right? It's just courtesy to, hey, you got something going this day or this day. I got this going. I'm gonna lay the yard down. Keep in mind, in them times, laying the yard down meant at least a good week, right? And if it was among different races, it could expand to months. But anyways, Crow, he was, like I said before, and I know it sounds kind of ridiculous when I say serving two masters, right? But he was also touching base with Toto, that old man, right? Which is this is more so on Toto, right? And now he's just one of them old individuals, right? He wanted his area straight up for himself, right? At least when it came to the Santas, Santa Maria, Santa Barbara, Santa Paula, you know, them angles. But Crow being a smart camarada, he would assist Toto on the calles to whatever extent, right? Neighborhood, um, moving, making feria, and inside he was representing Sherm on the yard, holding a position for him, right? He was the main individual, point blank, you know. He had the whole cha-cha for Sherm. And his Selly at the moment, or his Bow Wow, was was a homie that later on he would stay in power for Sherm and would end up getting blessed by Sherm, right? From Pacas. But anyways, for this individual to take control, the homie from Santa Maria, points went down, you know. It's rare you being with responsibility and you able to wiggle through and drop points. Most of the times, if you do things consciously, you're gonna constantly be getting caught up in things, right? Anyways, he dropped points. He went to a lower level, and I guess homie was fed up. It went from you could say us working together to the extent keeping it cordial on the yard because Terco was there too, right? And I'm not gonna say we had all this wee hoo hoo going on with Güero, but there was some things there, right? That again they're not important. So the homie was fed up, like I said, it's a lot of responsibility. If you're in their shoe, you wake up early before unlock, gallo, workout, and then get to riding, right? All the different angles you holding responsibilities, touch in with them, touching on the nombres coming in, the what's going to happen with them or their status going out, feria, neighborhood. It's a lot. It really is. If you don't matter how much time you have to always stay on things because one palabra through an appeal could take your win, right? Anyways, the homie I guess went down and he decided to chill. Is when Sherm was getting wrapped up in all that Rico and the homie knowing what time it is felt it was time for him to just chill, be one more of the homies on the yard, right? Do do what you have to do when it's meant for you to do it, type of thing. Not be every day, all day long doing it, right? Behind the scenes. And he programmed. Up to this point, there was nothing negative to say. As a matter of fact, everything I heard about the camarada, keep in mind at this point, all I knew the homie for was by his name, Placaso City, right? and everything that came out from Peely's was he was a good, solid homie, right? Trustworthy. Anyways, he went, he sat down. I'm not gonna say he ignored the Peely's, he just didn't get at them. Out of respect, it's a common courtesy, right? Either beforehand or afterhand. Beforehand is you knowing where you're going and addressing the thing on the yard, right? Hey, it was a pleasure doing things for you. I'm getting transferred to this, and this place. I'm just giving you a heads up. So and so are here on the yard. Let me know. They know how everything's working. Whichever you want me to put in that position to keep everything going, like if I'm still here. That type of thing, right? Or if you get snatched up, as soon as you get down, reach out and tell them, hey, they snatched me up. I'm over here. But here's some conectas that are there that could keep it going, right? Well, the homie never did that, excuse me. He felt, honestly, if you analyze it, he felt he could be pulled, right? There was a lot of homies being pulled because of Sherm. And he kept it quiet. But he also kept it quiet from that old man from Santa Paula. And that old man don't forget nothing. He not only don't forget, he holds grudges. He's a veterano, right? Let's just be sincere. Till date, he's one of the older individuals in the state, right? Still doing his thing. And it's his way or the highway, as with many. You know, it must have been what, 5 years? 5, 6 years that the homie went on silent. And as a camarada, you ought to respect that, right? You did your thing, you did it right. And he just wanted a program, see what he could get out of it, right? I guess the homie went down to a 3 yard afterwards, right? After a certain time, the 3 yards, there's more chaos. You know what I mean by that is in a level four, especially in a 180, every action is really analyzed, dissected. You look at the different avenues, you request guidance because there's more respect there, right? And a level three is mostly chaos, right? A lot more things are happening in the sense reckless, right? And I guess among them reckless things, 805 went up. They went up to war with SD. You know, that's how it was in a lot of institutions down south, right? That were level threes. This Ramfla trip. That trip led the homie back to the shoe. Once in the shoe, Toto reached out to him and said, report to the bay. Keep in mind the homie had already been there a long time beforehand, right? So first Pegala came up, he took care of it in Corcoran, took a transfer up to the bay. The homie, there's no smug you could really speak on it, right? Besides him not advising he wanted to chill. It was never going to be granted by Toto. Let's just be sincere. You know, it's like you can't step back from knowing what you know and from doing what you're doing, and then by you sitting down, not reaching out on the street. not putting Toto up on game with someone, you put a stop to all that. That's a loss. Anyways, when the homie got up there, within a day, within a day, he was no good. You know, nah, I'm lying, not a day. Because I remember there was a homie from Linwood that he just had a celly, right? They tried to sell him up with them, and it was just, the bay wasn't allowing it no more. And once they didn't allow it, he's trash. He's no good no more, you know. And it happened to the dot, you know. Homie did not go sideways, out sideways. He didn't speak with the Judas, even though he was on the Chaineada back there in the shoe, because of Toto. We all knew the whys, and even though we felt there was nothing major wrong like that, you know, it could have been met with you getting whacked, checked. But Toto, again, he's an old individual, right? There's no gray in the middle. So the homie was done. But he wasn't going out sideways. Keep in mind, he was holding strong even though he was on the S list, right? Per se. And there was no talk out the shoe at this time. We were stuck back there. Nevertheless, I took off to the feds. I maintained in touch with T, a couple good camaradas, right? Back there in the bay. And basically, the vato, he said he went out to yard, which I gotta honor that, right? Me personally, throughout all my wiggles, I was waiting to get put on the shine, to get whacked, whatever, for many reasons, right? Remember when you're under a pili, at this time war erupts against another pili's workers. For example, the 187 in Corcoran, Naira was carried by numerous abilities up there, right? So I knew it was just a matter of time. At least in my head, it was just a matter of time to get whacked and removed. But I wasn't gonna weenie out per se, right? And speak with them guys. If I get whacked and dealt with, period, I was gonna come back out and keep coming out, so I could respect the homie for it, right? The thing is, he didn't have them options, right? Of course, I would have probably didn't. You never know how it would go down, but specifically, Sentinella, he got kicked out to Sentinella when the shoe kickouts, right? Judas don't know nothing. They can assume all they want, but the homie ain't speaking. Toto ain't speaking, right? And he gets kicked out to Sentinella, just where the whole man's at. And he gets hit. He gets hit by two camaradas that were up there and knew all the reasons behind it. So, supposedly they went soft on the homie, but you can't go soft on somebody when you're putting steel inside them. You might be doing it, but the steel ain't doing it, you know what I mean? The homie was paralyzed from one side of his body, right? Because of the way he got hit. And then from then on, he had to go to the other side because when I say I will come out and keep getting whacked, I will come out with something and defend myself every time, right? But if you can't do that no more, then what's the point, right? So, anyways, I'll end it here. For those that probably know the homie, right? Girlfriend Maria Gans, he was up there, right in the mix. You could say he gave Clecha to Serio and just wanted to sit down and do his time after serving for I don't know how many years. But it's prison. You're gonna end up back in the reach of Billy's, at least shoe wise, right? And then you guys see, eventually everybody got kicked out, and he maintained solid. I guess he did it in the way that I would assume things, right? I've never done nothing wrong but follow orders, which is just another way of fooling myself to keep pushing, right? I come out, keep getting wet, and hopefully get a pass. But you and I know, and it was not gonna happen, especially with Toto. But it's the end look. For those that keep asking me, could you just go in and do your time? Of course. Here's the problem, especially now. You hit a yard where there's multiple members there. Let's just say, no, let's just put it like it is. You're gonna get called to bat. His entourage, the people that take care of him, that's all they're gonna do. So you're gonna get called up to bat or to do a favor for a Pili. By you doing so, you're automatically circling around them. You go silent, and it's considered you abandoning ship, and that's the end of your career. So the question should not be, could you do your time and get out? Of course, you could hit a good yard, everything quiet, good people, never request to go back, but the normal, right? You skate through. But again, the question should be, am I a good gambler? Should I risk it? Because it's no more what we, at least myself, grew up to believe. We have to go in, earn our stripes, put our neighborhood in the right ears. Everybody's up on game on that. And it's BS Met belief stuff. Is risk it. Some risk it just for the cloud. I go in, do a few years, I come out, I'm on top of my neighborhood type of thing. But here's the thing, even by staying quiet, programming right way, things can always ricochet. Remember, Atacato's mentality ain't like a lot of people that don't use. A lot of people that don't use assume a problem or an issue, come to a conclusion, let go of it. Atacato no. Atacato, due to the high, is going to be dwelling and dwelling and dwelling and dwelling on what to do. And it's like a Thor that's going to be stabbing and stabbing at them. And when it comes to them and homies, what's the best solution to take care of the problem? So again, stay true to those you need to, but don't gamble. You know, if you go there, I ain't speaking ill of it, nor poison. You run across a pili, suit up, boot up, and represent him to the fullest. Do what a campolero's supposed to do. Complete the mission, wherever it may lead. But if you get to an age, the end goal should always be get out of the gutter, take those that I need to take with me, stay true to myself, loyal to my loved ones.
This is so we started. We always